Hey boys and girls, so today we're going to be going over Unit 2, Lesson 8, which is Applications of Linear Equations. The first thing I need you to do is just write your name at the top of the lesson, and once you've done that, we can jump in and begin. So as I look at the do now, it says Grant has a monthly long-distance phone call bill of $5 plus an extra 10 cents per minute. Write an algebraic equation for m minutes of long-distance calls if Grant's cell phone bill this past September was $7. So what we've been working on is anytime we see a word problem, we always want to start off by cubing that question. I'm going to write out on the side what cubes represents just to refresh our memory. So we have C, U, B, E, and S for cubes. C stands for circling, right? Circle our key numbers. U stands for underlining the question. Whatever the word problem is asking, we want to underline that so we make sure we answer it properly. B tells me to box any math action words that I'm seeing. For example, if I see the word increase, when I hear increase, I think addition, so it's telling me to do something. E is to evaluate. So once I've looked at all the key information in the question, I have to decide what I'm going to do with it, so then I can finally S, solve the question. So let's start going through and cubing this word problem. First, I'm going to circle any key numbers that I see. So Grant has a monthly long-distance phone call bill of $5. I'm going to circle 5, plus an extra 10 cents per minute. I'm going to circle 10 cents per minute. Write an algebraic equation for m minutes. I'm going to actually circle m here because minutes represents a number. So m, just like we've gone over, is a variable that I don't know, but once I figure out what m represents, it will be a number. So m is really a number, m minutes. Of long distance calls, if Grant's cell phone bill this past September was $7, so we have 7 as well. Just as a refresher, if I actually look back in the first sentence, it says 10 cents per minute. We just learned that the variable m represents minutes. And I know minutes is a number. So I'm going to actually go back. I'm going to circle minute at the beginning of the question, and I'm going to replace it with the variable m, just because that's what the question is asking me to do. All right, now I'm going to skip down to U, which is underline the question. The question asks me to write an algebraic equation for m minutes of long distance calls. Right, I can underline that whole section if I want. So that's the question. And then B tells me to box math action words. So as I'm going through, he has a monthly long distance phone call bill of $5 plus tells me to add, so I'm going to add that on, plus an extra 10 cents per minute. Per tells me to multiply, and we use parentheses to represent multiplication. Write an algebraic equation. Equations have equal signs, so I'm going to highlight that word equation and replace it with an equal. For m minutes of long distance phone calls, if Grant's cell phone bill was $7. So I think that's all the key words that I'm seeing here. So now I'm going to go ahead and put everything together. It's telling me that I'm going to take 5 and I'm going to add it to 10 cents times m. So I'm going to write that out. 5 plus 10 cents times m. And it says it's going to equal $7, equal 7. If you guys think about real life, when you go, grocery shopping and you want to buy food at the store, this is all the food that you're buying, and it's going to equal your total. His total bill was $7, so it should be equaling the total. Same thing, you go out, you buy clothes, whatever the case is going to be, you're going to add up everything that you're buying, and it's going to equal your total. So again, it just says to write an algebraic equation. Nowhere does it say that we have to solve this, so this would actually be our final answer for the do now. All right, now if we jump down below, helpful problem-solving steps, well, this is what we just went through. The first step was to identify, let's fill that in. Identify the unknown variable and write a let statement. So before, the unknown variable that we had was m, and m represented minutes. In the question, it told me that I want m to represent minutes, but as we work through today's lesson, that might not always happen. And we should literally write out m is represented by minutes. So this is how you would identify or write out a let statement. All right, number 2. Next, we want to box any keywords that we're seeing. Again, just like in the do now, we saw the keyword plus. Plus tells me to use addition. We saw the keyword equation. That tells me to let an equal sign be used. Right, per tells me to multiply. So these are all keywords. Number 3 tells me to rewrite all that important information that I just discovered after I cubed the question. So again, I took all this key information and I rewrote it so it was nice and neat. And then last not least, number 4 is to, again, write out or to solve the equation. It depends on what the directions are asking. In the do now, we just had to write the equation. So we wrote it out. That would be step 4. Sometimes you'll see the keyword solve, so then I would have to solve the equation instead. It depends on what it's asking. All right, let's jump down to example 1 and let's practice what we just learned. So as we look at example 1, it says, for her cell phone service, Vera pays $32 a month, plus 75 cents for each minute over the allowed minutes in her plan. Vera received a bill for $47 last month. For how many minutes did she use her phone beyond the allowed minutes? All right, first things first, I'm going to cube this question just to start. So I'm going to start off by circling any numbers that I'm seeing. So her cell phone service, Vera pays $32 a month plus 75 cents for each minute over the allowed minutes in her plan. All right, I know just from looking back at the do now that minutes is really a number. So I'm going to circle minutes and I'm going to rewrite that using the variable m, right? M minutes. Vera received a bill for $47 last month. And then for how many minutes did she use her phone beyond the allowed time? All right, so I think that's it for my key numbers. Now I'm going to underline the question. The question says, for how many minutes did she use her phone beyond the allowed minutes? So that's the question. How many minutes did she use over the number that they're allowing her to use? Next is B for box. I'm going to box any action words that I'm seeing here. So again, Vera pays $32 a month plus is an addition word. I'm going to replace that with a plus sign. Plus 75 cents for each minute. Each is a key word that we had gone over earlier in this unit. Each is a multiplication word. And we use parentheses to represent multiplication. Vera received a bill for $47 last month. All right, and then the question says, for how many minutes did she use her phone beyond the allowed time? So it looks like I found all of my math action words, and now I'm going to go ahead and evaluate all the information that I have. Well, in the do now, it told me that I'm going to let m be represented by the word minutes. So I didn't need a let statement in the do now. If I look at example 1, it doesn't say that anywhere, let m be minutes or m minutes. I'm choosing to let minutes be represented by the variable m here. So my first step is going to be writing a let statement. On the side, I'm going to write let m equal the number of minutes she used beyond her allowed minutes. Because again, the question says, for how many minutes did she use her phone beyond the allowed minutes? That's what I'm looking for. That's the question. So I'm going to let m represent the number of minutes she used beyond her allowed minutes. All right. Now I'm going to start setting up my equation so I can solve for m. That's what m represents. It represents the question that I'm trying to solve here. So if I go back and rewrite my question, I'm sorry, if I rewrite all the information that they gave me, it's 32 plus 75 cents times M, 75 cents times M. And I know it's a bill, so I'm gonna add up everything that I'm paying and it should equal my total. Well, it says that her bill was $47. That's her total for the month. And then from here, I'm gonna solve because the question asks how many minutes. I need to figure that out. So first things first, I'm gonna draw my train tracks here. And now I'm gonna start combining like terms. I don't see anything on the left that I can put together. I only have 47 on the right-hand side. So now I have to go to opposite sides to combine my like terms. So I'm gonna bring my smaller number to my bigger. I know that's a positive 32. The opposite is a negative. Same thing, the opposite of addition is subtraction. So I'm gonna subtract 32 on both sides. Now I have 0.75 M equals 15. Again, I'm always organizing my work. I want to get M by itself. M is on the left-hand side, so I'm only looking at the left-hand side. Well, how am I going to get rid of that 0.75? I know that the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide 0.75 on both sides. That cancels out. Let me scoot up here just a smidge. So now I'm left with M equals. You would type this into your calculator and you would see that the answer is 20. I wrote what M represents in the question. So now that I have my final answer, I can stop right here and say I'm done. If you forget to write a let statement, then you would have to write out a sentence at the end to answer this question. So how many minutes did she use her phone beyond the allowed minutes? She used her phone for 20 extra minutes. What was the number? 20. So you'd have to say 20 minutes were used beyond the allowed time. And again, you'd only have to write this out. You're only going to write this sentence out if you don't have a let statement. So since I do, I could have stopped right here. But if you don't, then you would have to write out a full sentence to answer the question. All right, let's look at the second page. All right, so as we look here at example 2, 3 and 4, all of these questions are number problems. These are very challenging, so we're gonna go through step by step how you can easily break them down. So as I read example 2, it says the larger of two numbers is 4 times the smaller. If the larger number is increased by 12, the result is 5 times the smaller number. Find the numbers. So as I'm reading through this question, and it might take 2 or 3 reads to really understand what it's asking for and what it's like talking about. So I can see that there's 2 numbers, right, that I want to solve for in this question. I want to solve for some type of larger number and some type of smaller number. So unlike the do now and example 1, there was only one unknown variable and it was M. We were looking for M minutes in the do now, M minutes in example 1. Example 2 is a little different because there's 2 unknown variables that I'm solving for here, a larger and a smaller number. So I'm going to write that out. I have a larger number and I have a smaller number that I'm looking for. And I have to figure out what those are going to be represented by so I can solve the question. Well, if I read carefully, it says the larger number, I have it right here, the larger number is going to be 4 times the smaller number. So again, I'm just going through and cubing this question. The larger number, I'm just going to write an L here for larger, is, we know is really an equal sign, right? It means equal, is 4 times is a multiplication word, 4 times the smaller number. Now, the larger equals 4 times the smaller number. Do we know what the smaller number is? No. That's okay. I'm going to let the smaller number be represented by the variable s. So I'm going to write 4 times s. And that's what the larger number will be. I know the first sentence is very challenging and it looks like we don't know anything, but really we know what the larger number will be. The larger number is going to be 4 times that smaller number. So 4 times the smaller, I don't know what the smaller number is, I'm gonna let it be S. So don't forget, we just said that the smaller number is gonna be represented by S. So the smaller number is S. And now I just went from having no confidence solving this question to having at least a little bit of confidence. I filled out some important information, but I still have a little way to go. The second sentence gives you a ton of information, so we got to read that carefully. It says, if the larger number is increased by 12. Well, right now my larger number is 4S. So my larger number is 4S. I want to increase that by 12. Increase by 12. Well, I know the keyword increase tells me to add. So I'm really going to take my 4S, my larger number, and I'm going to add 12 to it. Okay. It says the result will be. Well, the result is, that's another keyword. We know that means equals. We learned that back in Unit 1. Okay, so the result will be 5 times the smaller number. Okay, here we go. We have 5 times the smaller number. The smaller number was S. So now we have 5 times S. And then the question asks us to find what those numbers are going to be. So let's rewrite out all our information here. So 4S plus 12. 4S plus 12 gives me the result of, so the result means equals, so it's going to equal 5 times the smaller number. So that's going to be 5 times S. 5 times S. And now we have an equation that we can solve, and that will help us look for these numbers that we don't know. So the next step is to draw some train tracks in, and I'm just going to solve like I normally would. Right now I have common variables, right, like variables on opposite sides. So I want to put those together. So I'm going to move my smaller number to my bigger. Right now this is a positive 4S. I'm going to change it to a minus 4S. So I can move it over. These cancel. Now I have 12 equals 1S. And I'm done. Now I know what S equals. S equals 12. So I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to fill in that important information. S is 12, so I'm going to rewrite this as 4 times 12. 4 times 12 is 48. S is 12, so I'm just going to let S be represented by the number 12. And now I'm done. The question asked us to find the numbers. I just found the numbers. The larger number is 48. The smaller number is 12. All right, this was a lot. It's definitely heavy, so just make sure you are taking your time and slowly reading through the questions so that you can solve them. Let's look at number 3. Number 3 says 2 candidates for class president received a total of 117 votes. The winner received twice as many votes as the runner-up. How many votes did the winner receive? All right, so as I'm reading through this question again, and it might take 2 or 3 times to read it through, and that's okay, I can see there's 2 types of variables here again that I don't know. It looks like there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a runner-up. And I don't know what either one of those things are, so I'm going to write a let statement to start. I have a winner and I have a runner-up. Now I'm going to reread the question to start figuring out what my let statements will equal. 2 candidates for class president received a total of 117 votes. All right, I know I'm probably going to use this number at some point. 117 represents the votes. Here we go. The winner received. So the winner is going to equal twice as many votes as the runner-up. Twice means 2 times. Twice as many votes as the runner-up. Does the question tell us anywhere how many votes the runner-up received? No. So I'm going to let the runner-up be represented by the variable R for runner-up. So I know that the winner is going to equal 2 times R. And again, the runner-up is R. So here we go. The runner-up is R. The winner is 2 times R. All right, now I'm going to keep reading. The question says, how many votes did the winner receive? So I just need to figure out how many votes the winner received, and then I'm done. There's only one more key number that they gave us, which was 117, and I haven't used that yet. 117 represents the votes. So if the winner is 2 times R, and the runner-up is just R, well, when I add those together, I should get 117 because this is talking about votes. The winner received twice as many votes as the runner-up. So when I add the votes from the winner with the votes from the runner-up, all together, that's going to be 117 total votes. And that's going to be the equation that I'm going to use to solve for R. That would be the runner-up. So 2R plus R is 3R, and that's going to equal 117. The opposite of multiplication is division. I'm going to divide out 3 on both sides, and we know that R equals 39. So I'm going to plug that back in for my winner and my runner-up. I know the runner-up received 39 votes, and I know the winner received 2 times 39, which would be 78 total votes. So how many votes did the winner receive? 78 total votes. All right. And then last but not least is example 4. I want you guys to try that on your own. So at this point, you should put the video on pause and then check back when you're done. All right. All right, so here's my answer for number 4. So as I read through, there were 2 unknown variables here as well, the auto body shop and the car care shop. So as I read through, it tells me that the auto body shop charges $125 plus $18 per hour. So this is the expression that I've created for the auto body shop. 125 plus 18 times H. Per is a multiplication word. Hours, I don't know, so I let hours be represented by the variable H. So this is how I'm getting my expression for the auto body shop. Then I continue reading. It says the car care shop charges $200 plus $12 per hour. I changed that over to be 200 plus 12 times H. Again, this is the expression I got for car care. And then the question I want to underline says determine the number of hours where the 2 body shops will cost the same. So in the question itself, I have another keyword, same. If I want the auto body shops to be the same, that means I want them to equal each other. And this is how I'm creating the equation that I'm going to use to now solve for H. Again, on the side, let me move this up a little bit. So sorry, guys. I want H to be represented by hours, so I'm going to fill that in. H represents the number of hours. Again, I'm using the question to help me with that let statement. So H is the number of hours which the 2 body shops will cost the same. So it's the number of hours the 2 body shops will cost the same. And it's that keyword same that tells me that I want them to equal each other. So here's all my work. I'm solving all the way through, and I can see that H is 12.5. So the number of hours they'd have to work is 12.5. Okay, I can always plug it back in to double check that those numbers are the same. So I would type into my calculator 125 plus 18 times 12.5 for the auto body. For car care, I would type in 200 plus 12 times 12.5. And when you type it in the calculator, you end up getting 350 for both. I can see that that number is the same, so I know that 12.5 is a correct answer, and I know I'm good to go. All right, you guys did great. If you need help with anything, please feel free to rewatch the video or message us on Canvas. All right, have a great day.